It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our first ever coffee break webinar series. And the topic today is the power of remote managed self-storage. So my name is Louise Stokes. I am the head of sales at Kinnovis. I've been in the role just over 2 months, which has been exciting. And previous to that, I was running a self-storage business out in Australia that was contactless, digital and automated, and we grew to 15 locations in about 3.5 years. So it was a really interesting introduction to self-storage. And I think it's one of those things, once you join storage, you never end up leaving. So I'm now thrilled to be able to talk to lots of different operators and help them with their operations and their digitization. So before we jump into the topic, I'm really keen to introduce this series. These sessions are really designed to be a practical, but also hopefully insightful look at some of the aspects of running a modern self-storage business that customers truly love. So we're really open to ideas, to running to topics, to the sorts of people you might want to hear from, but also if you would like to share some of your ideas. We're using this opportunity as well to introduce other members of the team, some very clever people that have dedicated a lot of time and energy into building our platform. So really open to also feedback, what you might want to see going forward. So let's jump into it. There's 4 key areas of today's session. So first of all, understanding the drivers, why remote management is becoming more relevant and how operators are adapting. Then exploring the models. So you've got full service to assisted to fully remote. So what each approach looks like in practice. Some practical lessons, what it takes to set up, scale and run remote managed facilities successfully. And I can kind of talk to my experience at Swift Storage in my previous role. And the sort of 4th pillar we'll be looking at today is future-proofing your business. So how technology, customer expectations and operations are evolving and what that means for your strategy. Finally, in the session, we'll have a short announcement about our plans for next year from my managing director, Martin Wild. So stay tuned for that at the end. So a bit of housekeeping before we jump into it. Do use the Q&A tab to write any questions throughout the session in that chat. You can also add any comments or reactions as well as you see fit. And we'll get to those at the end and make sure we run through those questions. There'll also be a few polls throughout the sessions. So please participate in these polls when they pop up, and we can see how some of these topics are trending. And finally, this session is recorded and will be shared later. So hello to those who are watching at a later date. I know there was a German webinar on at the same time, and there's a UK Self-Storage Association webinar later today. So if you're watching the recording later on, welcome and thanks for tuning in. So first poll, let's get that one launched, please, Joshua. And the question is, what's actually driving your interest in remote management? There's a few options here, so let's hear from you. What's sort of driving your interest? Is it arriving staff costs? Is it hard to find good people? Is it more the customer demand for self-service, or expanding and scaling without adding headcount? Or is it more visibility and security? Let's hear from you. So if you click on the option and then submit, and we can see the results as they come in. Okay, there it is changing there. It started with expanding portfolio without adding headcount, still in the front at 50%. 10 responses so far. So 10 more to go if you guys want to add in a response there, and we'll see before moving on. But really expanding portfolio, I think the benefits of scale when you're remotely managed is really evident, and we'll touch on that more in the rest of the session. Okay, clearly the front runner there, followed by customer demand for self-storage, self-service for self-storage, and the rising staff costs, third interest there. Okay, excellent. Let's move on. So let's look at the bigger picture. the economic drivers behind why remote management has become so relevant today towards the end of 2025 here where we are. So in the UK, labour costs are still climbing, with average earnings up about 4.7% this year. Combining that with low unemployment, it's getting tougher and more expensive to attract and retain good on-site staff. So at the same time, inflation is hovering around 3.8% and interest rates are holding at 5.25%. So it just means that operating and borrowing costs remain high. There's then also some business and market drivers. So operators can grow faster, more sites, fewer staff, and we saw that in our poll results there. So scalability is a major factor to why people look at remote managed models. Talent retention is a big factor. So customer service roles become more varied, higher value and flexible. We always said at Swift Storage, our customer care, customer acquisition teams are very high value. They need to be working across lots of different locations at once, be able to do lots of things at once, keep lots of balls in the air, and get back to people really clearly and quickly. So always see the customer care agents as very high value. And finally, a big aspect is it's very appealing to investors. So a lean tech-enabled model delivers predictable margins and higher return on investment. Ultimately, we want to appeal to investors. We can attract more money and we can continue to grow. There's also some customer-driven factors. So obviously self-service expectations. We saw that in the poll as well. Customers now do prefer to manage everything online. They want to view prices, they want to choose their own units and complete bookings instantly without waiting on a call. So I think there is an argument out there that there's a lack of understanding around the service of self-storage, but I think your website really serves to answer a lot of those questions. So it's important that your website is educating people through the form of video or size calculators. It's important that the website does its job and answers some of those questions. People expect 24/7 convenience. Obviously, life doesn't happen in business hours. Life admin happens at 10 p.m. at night when people are thinking about moving house, relocating, needing storage, and wanting to book that and sort that out, and one less thing to think about. So remote models really make access and also booking really possible at any time of the day or night. I'm a firm believer in transparency builds trust, and we'll get to this later in the session as well. But I think displaying prices openly, such as hotels and flights as well, creates confidence and reduces friction in the buying journey. So we had a big debate about this topic in Manchester last week with the Young Self-Storage Network event with that group in the UK. So there's different appetites for this. But a lot of operators I did find were using the hybrid approach of having a short form, and then once the user clicks through, they can then see the pricing immediately. And finally, in terms of customer-driven factors, mobile first behavior. So at Swift, we saw about 80% of our web traffic pretty evenly across the 3 to 4 years, 80% of that traffic coming from mobile browsers. So customers really expect that mobile seamless experience, and it's not a paper form and it's not an in-person visit. They want to be able to see how to engage with your business from their mobile device. I would argue your mobile device is the kiosk, it is the reception. That's where you can get all the information. And finally, in terms of some drivers, operationally and technology. So it's a big factor. Advances in digital locks, cameras, AI boundaries you can set with your CCTV cameras, ID verification, all those sort of things have arrived and they work really well. So it's a huge driver to take advantage of these technologies. Centralized operations, so cloud-based platforms like ours, like the Kinnovis Manager, let teams run multiple sites from anywhere and reduce on-site admin and costs. So it's a huge factor. These things work with each other and make it really seamless for the customer, but also seamless for the team. And finally, obviously, we should all be very data-driven, and it's important to make decisions around data. So getting these real-time insights from whether it's your smart access system or from your property management system, such as Kinnovis, it allows you to understand the customer behavior and understand what's going on. So it's not about removing people. I want to make that very clear. but it's about running leaner, smarter, and more sustainably in tougher economic climates. That's incredibly important to fight disruption and survive and thrive as a business. So by centralizing key tasks and automating repetitive admin, you're also improving the happiness of your teams. And remote manage really allows for that to do things more efficiently and scale. So moving on, what remote management really means. So when we talk about remote management, it's important to be clear. It doesn't mean no staff. There was an assumption when we started Swift Storage before I came along as someone who didn't know much about storage at all, that we would never talk to any customers. They would just book online, move in. And that's actually not the case. You want to be available to customers when they do want to talk to you. So it just means that you're using people and technology a little bit more intelligently. You still need people. You just might need them in slightly different roles than you expect. So your central team can really handle all things like onboarding, billing, customer support through a single platform, a single source of truth, which could be Kinnovis, while it's very important to have local caretakers focusing on what really matters day to day at your site. So I would say one of the most important things to do is make sure to keep the site as spotless as possible. The technology is great, smart access is great, but really what people truly care about is a clean and tidy facility. And it sends a very strong message that the site is cared for, monitored, and respected. If a site's looking neglected, and we found this at times when we had someone off on leave and maybe it was a gap in the cleaning schedule, people assume no one's watching, and that's when sort of wrong behavior can creep in. So it's important to set the tone around that with safety and trust and professionalism by keeping the site as clean as possible. So technology carries the admin load. The people on the ground are vital for maintaining those standards and reinforcing that someone's always paying attention. So let's get into the models, what it actually means by different models of operation, because the term remote management can actually cover a lot of ground. So the first model on the left there is full service. This is the traditional setup we've known for years. It's a lot like the business class experience. For example, on an airline, there's a full-time manager on site offering a concierge style service. It's obviously a higher cost, but in certain markets, say in central London or in Sydney, that personal touch is expected and justified. Customers are paying for that premium experience. And that's where you might offer things like parcel dispatch or some sort of business services. The second model there in the middle, assisted service. So it's the middle ground where a lot of the operators are heading, I would say. You might have automation in place for things like booking and payments and access, but you still have people available, maybe remotely or maybe part-time. And that's to help customers through the journey when they need it. It's a balance between efficiency and support. And finally, on the right there, it's self-service, the fully remote technology-led model. Here, the customer can do everything themselves, find a unit, see prices, book, verify their ID, pay, access the site, all without ever speaking to someone in person. And that's certainly where we were with Swift Storage. It's not for every location, but it's becoming far more common, especially as the tech has arrived and has matured and will continue to evolve. And the customers have grown to expect that kind of instant, frictionless experience. So what we're seeing globally is that operators are mixing these models across their portfolio, keeping full service at flagship locations potentially, assisted service in busy suburban areas, and self-service in smaller, newer sites as well. So if we look at where the industry sits today, most operators are still somewhere between full service and assisted service. There's a growing number of fully remote sites, and for the majority, it's a hybrid model. So it's a mix of technology and people. But over the next 5 years, that balance will really shift dramatically, I believe, as staffing costs rise and customer comfort with self-service increases. we will see more operators move towards assisted and self-service models. So many will trial remote management at new sites or smaller satellite facilities. And we're really seeing that now. They might have the team based in one facility and they'll have a satellite facility down the road before, testing the waters and rolling that out in terms of operations. I do think then after 5 years' time, so around 2030 and beyond, the assisted and self-service will likely dominate. Technology like ours, like other smart access systems and automated billing, such as Stripe, really make it possible to run sites efficiently, securely, and with consistent customer experience. So even without someone physically on site, sat at reception. But it doesn't mean the human element disappears entirely. It just becomes more strategic. So customer care, community engagement, and oversight. The real shift is that technology handles the everyday and people handle the moments that truly matter. Remaining a local experience and a local business is still incredibly important. And it's important that the customer feels as though they're not talking to someone that's completely distant from the facility itself and the local area. So there's a bit on this slide, but it's sort of what the elements are required for a truly excellent remote management model. So it's not just an idea, but it's a practical, proven model today. So it comes down to how far technology has come in the last few years. The systems now, importantly, really need to talk to each other seamlessly, and that has to happen instantly. And it's through the power of APIs and integrations. So smart access solutions such as Noki, Smart Entry, or Paxton, or Open Tech Alliance can integrate directly into the Kinnovis manager. So instant overlocking for unpaid accounts, instant move-in notifications, the customers can book online and everything all automatically. On the back end, automated billing and invoicing means there's no manual chasing or reconciliation as much as there used to be. So, I mean, payments still fail, but at least the majority of people, just like a subscription, will automatically have their credit or debit card billed or their direct debit pulled through. And so there's less admin in that sense. Also, digital ID verification. So, this is incredibly important to make sure that you know who you're transacting with. And there's a digital paper trail around that, along with online contracts, such as using something like Signable, really lets you ensure that the person has agreed to your terms and conditions and your storage agreement. So it's very important with a remote managed model to have what I mentioned a little bit earlier was that single source of truth. And we really see Kinnovis or a PMS to be that unified dashboard where at any point in time, you know exactly what's going on in your facilities, either at a, umbrella sense with multiple locations or that single view. If you're only interested in one of the locations, you can sort of tailor that based on the roles and permissions. Also touch on that a little bit further on. Another poll, making sure everyone's still with me. So first poll we've got here is, do you think customers prefer to speak to someone before booking? At this point in time, in your business or in the project, what's your view? Always, sometimes, or rarely? Let's have a look at what people are thinking here. Let's see the results as they pull through. Sometimes, depends on the situation. That was my vote as well, by the way. I really think things can happen. Things happen on site. We rely a lot more heavily at times on the relationship with the customer. So a big thing at Swift Storage was after the customer had booked, they'd transacted with us, they probably hadn't spoken to us first because the website really gave them all the information that they needed. We would make sure, and that customer care team member would introduce ourselves with a text message with the preferred way of talking, so that if then the customer had needed help, had a question, wanted to let us know something, they could do so with ease and in a way that we preferred. For us was SMS. We really preferred that channel to manage lots of customers and locations. So I agree sometimes, but then a little bit of percentage there, 17% for always. Human contact is essential, and rarely most just want a self-service. So interesting results there. One more poll. So we're doing a double poll. In terms of your bookings in your self-storage facility and business at the moment, how many currently happen fully online? What would be the percentage there? So we'll just get that one launched. 0 to 25%, 26 to 50, 50 to 75, 76 to 100. How many of your bookings are happening fully online? Let's see the polls as they come through. Okay, bit of a 50-50 split. 40%, 76 to 100% online. That's excellent. But also a big chunk of people, 30 or 20%, from 26% to 75%. So really interesting mix there, which is probably indicative of your interest in today's session about evolving your systems. All right. Thank you very much for your participation. We'll move on. So the biggest shift we've seen isn't just in technology, it's actually about customer behavior. So at Swift, to kind of use my previous role, what we saw, we pretty consistently over the 4 years of operating saw around 60% of customers booking storage, transacting with us, paying their first month's rent without ever speaking to anyone. And as mentioned before, we then would engage in a short text message conversation to let them know, thank you for booking, here's how you talk to us. But 60% of people didn't talk prior to booking. They didn't want to fill in forms or wait for a quote or have someone call them back. They potentially were juggling things during the workday and booking some storage, or late at night when they were looking at life admin. So they expected the same ease they get when booking a flight or ordering anything online. So it's incredibly important. While mobile first is also so critical, people are doing things on the run, and your platforms need to be suitable to that. So really, going back to a point earlier, transparency is what builds trust. When customers can see what they're paying and what's available up front and all the fees included, no surprises, it removes doubt and it makes them more confident to book immediately, no back and forth, no hesitation. I think that's incredibly important. I would also argue when they know the price and then they have given you a call or messaged you on chat or emailed you, there are more qualified leads. So they know the price up front, but maybe they want to check, is this size right for me? I have a question about insurance. I have a question about security. But they know the price and it's very clear and it's black and white. As much as we love technology and we're remotely managed, I had a big rule at Swift that it was important to remain incredibly human. So really understanding the local area to each of the facilities, using local landmarks such as, at our Bundaberg facility, it's next to the BP, or we're next to the private hospital on the left there. So really having that local insight so that the customer, when they do contact you, feel as though you are tuned into what area they live in and understand them. They don't want to feel as though it's an offshore team that don't really care. They want to feel they're having human interaction. So the beauty of setup like in-app chat, email templates, and any sort of tasks in Kinnovis, for example, your team can sort of keep track of everything really central, really quickly, keeping the tone warm, human, and consistent across every location. So in terms of operations at scale, once the right systems are in place, scaling becomes much simpler. And that was one of the main reasons for people's interest today. It's about scaling. You really want to have a rinse and repeat model. Yes, you might change things along the way and learn things and change and iterate, but rinse and repeat just allows you to get the benefits of scale. And especially with a single source of truth, such as the manager platform, you can really build a repeatable launch playbook. So everyone in the team knows this is what we do when we do it in order to get a site live. And it's the same process each and every time, from setup to onboarding to go live. It's consistent predictable, and quick. That's the key thing. Everything is visible to the relevant people in central dashboards. You've got your occupancy, revenue, and any tasks related to finance or related to facility management. So it gives the leaders of the company, but also the other team members, a really clear view across what's happening in each of the facilities and what's needing to be done on each site. A big aspect that I love with the Kinnovis Manager platform is the role-based permissions are quite complex. So it's really suitable to the franchise model where you want someone to look at this slither, whereas you might want someone else to have a full picture of what's going on in the whole portfolio, or someone else here just interested in the marketing aspects. It lets you kind of really tailor the role-based permissions as much as you like, and that's incredibly important as you scale. And because platforms need to integrate straight with smart access systems and accounting tools, it means that all your data stays in sync automatically. So there's no duplicating entries, doing something here and then doing something there, and no messy spreadsheets. That's incredibly relevant and important when you're looking at a remote managed model. Obviously, this topic of security and visibility is incredibly important. And actually, we're planning a standalone deep dive as part of a coffee break series, which will feature one of our industry colleagues, Ant, from the DSOC, which is the Doncaster Security Operations Centre. They do lots of security implementations for self-storage and many monitoring activities as well. So we'll explore that in more detail. Definitely stay tuned for that session. But it's one of the biggest questions people still have around remote management. And rightly so, it's incredibly important. People, security is really what we're in the business of, keeping people's items safe. They have put it into self-storage, they're paying for that storage, and they want to make sure that their items are secure. I would really argue with a remote managed model and real-time alerts that you can get through your smart access systems. Every access log is tracked automatically. I would argue you know more about what's going on in all your sites as opposed to potentially a staff member sat at the front there and dealing with customers as they come in. So through smart access systems, you can really see if a user has entered and didn't go to their unit. It would flag that to you. We used to check these every single day. That could indicate that the person is casing the place. So they've come in the gates and then they haven't gone to the unit that they've booked. The other end of that spectrum is someone staying for very long periods of time. And that might mean that they're actually staying in the facility and sleeping in their unit, which is obviously a huge safety issue. So security through smart access systems and cameras and AI tracking really lets you investigate these sort of instances, which is part and parcel with what self-storage can be at times. It lets you investigate these with the information that it's providing you. And of course, ID verification, such as Stripe ID verification and payment validation, means you're not only keeping out the wrong people, but it's also preventing fraud before it starts. So you then know exactly who you're transacting with. And if you need to engage with police or other authorities, you can kind of hand over that information confidently that you know and you've got your record straight. 24/7 data visibility means your team can react faster. Instantly, they're seeing what's going on. They're seeing someone that's on site that shouldn't be, those sort of things. There's a full digital trail, which is incredibly important. So in terms of some practical lessons, what does it actually take to set up and run a successful remote managed operations? These are my 2 cents based on my experience at Swift Storage, but I would suggest, particularly if you're starting a project or if you're looking to go more remote, start simply. Don't try and automate everything at once. Don't try and implement lots of different systems. I would start really simply, get a great single source of truth that can manage the core processes of onboarding, billing, and access, and build it from there. And then automate gradually. Using modular tools that work well together, that integrate with each other, is incredibly important. And the key is flexibility. So you can add or replace components as your business evolves, but also as the market evolves and new entrants come on board. So choose your partners wisely. Platforms like Kinnovis are designed to evolve with you, but it's also important in all different aspects of the business, in your accounting, in your access, all sorts of things. Be as tech agnostic as possible, and that way you're getting the best tools that can run seamlessly. I often hear from operators who customized older systems so heavily that they're now completely locked in and can't adapt, and it's a big, huge project for them to evolve. So picking modern and cloud-based software really gives you the freedom to change direction when needed. And I would not underestimate culture and clarity. Your team has to buy into the remote model. Clear processes, communication, accountability are just as important as the technology themselves. So really adopting that digital mindset is important, and making your team feel comfortable and confident in that as well. And finally, data-driven visibility gives you confidence to manage remotely. When you can see what's happening across the site in every detail in real time, it makes better, faster decisions without the need to be there physically. So if there's one takeaway from all of this, I would say test and experiment. You know, at the start of Swift Storage, I had a lot of pressure to do a box shop and to offer merchandise. We tried it. It didn't really work. We dropped it. You can test and experiment as much as you like, and be open to things not quite working and dropping them. I think that's very important. Remote management isn't something you have to get perfect right away. It's about trying things, measuring what works, and being willing to drop what doesn't, as said. So the technology today gives you the flexibility to do that safely, I would say, and you can test new process, automate a step, trial a fully serviced self-service model at one site, learn from it, and then scale what works. Starting small and iterating as you go along, and that's how you build a remote managed business that lasts. So in terms of future-proofing our businesses, the truth is both technology and customer expectations are moving faster than ever. People now have the expectation that they should get instant access, mobile convenience, and complete transparency, and that technology supporting that is finally mature enough to make it simple. By 2029, most portfolios will be operating in assisted and fully self-service models. I truly believe that. The traditional fully staffed sites will still exist, but they'll be the expectation rather than the rule. So reserved for flagship high-touch locations. The real winners will be the operators who combine automation with genuine human connection. I truly believe that as well. So you can run leaner, faster, and still keep that personal touch. Incredibly important as part of building your brand in your local catchment. The future of self-storage, as I've said already, isn't about replacing people, but it's about empowering them with better systems. So ultimately, making your team's lives better and happier, and get them doing more interesting things to keep delivering great service at scale every single day. So to wrap things up, and while I'm sort of wrapping up here, I would be really interested to understand, if you could pop it in the chat box here, what's one thing you'd test or change in your own business after today? Is there anything that you might want to try or experiment with? Really interested to hear that. So share your thoughts. We'll jump to a poll before we wrap up. Oh no, that is the poll. Open response. Do enter it in. And I'll wrap up the presentation now. So remote management isn't about removing people. I've said it about 5 times now, but I truly believe that. It's about rethinking how we run storage and using technology that adds efficiency and people where they add value. People don't necessarily book because of the tech, but it's the hidden benefits, that it's convenient, easy, and it really does empower people. The tech has arrived. Tools like the Kinnovis Manager make it practical, scalable, and measurable, but it's about mindset and discipline as well. So obviously keeping things nice and tidy and clean and secure, data transparency, and customers feeling supported is what truly counts. And as you think about your own sites, maybe ask yourself what's one thing you could test. So we're seeing those results come through here. Let's see what it's saying. Balance, automation, integrations with Kinnovis, tech stack, human touch. I like that. Excellent. Drop in any other ideas you have there, folks. It would be interesting to see what you think. Balancing human touch, customer service, integrations. Excellent. Human touch. I think it's an excellent point. I totally agree. It is really about being human, not robotic, but meeting people where they are. Human properties, digital, customer service, systems, best. Love it. Excellent. All right. One more poll, which is, where do you see your business model in 3 years? I'm interested to know, for those who have a self-storage business up and running. I know there's some people in the session here today that are embarking on a new self-storage project, so they're curious as to this model. But for those that well, they can also answer that too. I'm sure they're probably going to be remote, but where do you see your business model in 3 years? Very curious to see what people think about what's coming down. 50% fully remote, hybrid, 38%. Do enter in your results so we can get a huge view about, oh, they're neck and neck, 33, 33, 33. No one's fully staffed. And hybrid, assisted service, mostly remote, fully remote, all even there. There's more people on the call than the responses. So if you haven't yet put in a response, do that, and we can get a view of what people think. Excellent. All right, we might jump into Q&A. So I can see there is, let's have a look. If you've got any questions, do enter them in. Just have a look through now. The poll results are there. Excellent. Any questions? Also feel free to raise a hand or a reaction or a comment. Really interested to hear from those who have tuned in today. And also, if you're joining later down the line on a recording, do comment on LinkedIn, things like that. Would love to hear from you as well. Perhaps I covered everything that's possibly imaginable, but I'm sure I didn't. So do put in any questions you might have in the Q&A. But in the meantime, I might hand over to Martin to give us a bit of an update about what's coming next for Kinnovis.
Yeah, thank you, Louise. And I'm very excited to see so many participating today. And some of you I know personally very well, so very glad to have you here today. Yeah, so at Kinnovis, we've been utilizing latest technologies since day one, no question. And that's our job and our passion to really advance based on new technologies and really apply new technologies wherever it makes sense. So when we at Kinnovis say we are AI powered, we say that because we have adopted the technology in really every core of our business. So from feature development and coding our own software solutions, to user testing, to reporting, internal reports we create, product design, and even this presentation itself has been created with the support of AI. So we can really encourage you to start using AI if you haven't. However, we see from the Fidessa annual report that already 90% of the industry is using AI to some extent already, which I think is a great number, as just 2-3 years ago, we've seen that hardly anyone was using AI. and now it really has led to mass adoption. So now that the industry has embraced AI, it's time for Kinnovis to deliver more of these products, we believe. That's why we're announcing today officially our new AI department within our development team, run by our new head of AI, Oliver Dilch. He's an expert on AI. He really knows the ins and outs, and he's gonna find out for you, for our audience, for our customer base, the right applications of AI where it really makes sense in self-storage and leaves out those parts that don't make sense. And yes, there are many, but there are many that can be left out that don't make sense, but there's certainly some quite many applications that make a lot of sense and that will make a huge difference in the future. So stay tuned on that. And we're very excited to have Oliver leading this team. And Oliver's team will be in charge of creating AI features within the Kinnovis platform, which helps you as self-storage operators to grow faster than ever. So really, we believe it's going to make a big difference. Just to give you a little bit of an insight, what do we mean with these AI applications and how can they actually help you? What we already have today, features such as our AI-powered chatbot, Chain AI, already helps operators across Europe. Today, automating customer service, especially outside of opening hours. We're making sure that customers get an answer instantly and the right answer instantly rather than waiting until next day when someone picks up the phone. And we are also in the process of building a ChatGPT Kinnovis app, which will allow you to report on any data across your Kinnovis software, which is going to make it super user-friendly to find out the right data about your business, what's my occupancy rate, who are the move-ins, who are the move-outs, and so on, and give you instant answers rather than looking for individual reports within the software. Yeah, so we're very excited to get this started and to really dig deeper into AI topics. And if you're interested, please follow us on LinkedIn. We're always posting news there as well. Please visit our website anytime. We have a dedicated page on AI features, and we'll keep you updated on any AI feature that's coming up. So we'll have an AI product roadmap where you can keep yourself tuned. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's very exciting. I think particularly being able to search and pull custom reporting. You might have a weird and wonderful idea about, I wonder what the trend is there based on X, Y, and Z. You'll be able to do that with this capability with ChatGPT style of searching. So very exciting stuff. I'll give a couple more minutes to see if there's any other questions, but otherwise we might wrap up. I really appreciate everyone tuning in live. I thank you for taking the time out of your busy days. And you've got our details, so do get in touch with any other ideas around topics for these sessions or any sort of things like that. So my email's there if you want to reach out. I'd be very interested to hear any feedback as well. And we might end the session there. But thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.